All right, everyone. So I reorganized this, the windows a little bit on here because I'm going to go into the next section here where we're going to give you an example of setting up a simple calculation here in MATLAB. And so the first thing I want to mention and emphasize again, much like in Excel, identical to Excel, order of operations is in effect in MATLAB. So if I was to do something like 5 times 6 divided by 6 times 5, that is going to be 25, right? But if I was to do the same thing, and note, I actually did the same thing by hitting the up arrow. Up arrow will repeat the previous value. I can go back in, hit parentheses, and it becomes 1, right? So realize order of operations matters. Left to right, it's going to be parentheses first, then exponentials, multiplication, division, then addition and subtraction. So make sure you keep that clear and consistent in this entire order, and you will be fine. So first example I'm going to do, and I think this is a good one to kind of begin with, is let's compute the area of a cylinder. So I'm going to start at the top, and we're going to do this in a script file so I can give you an example of what this would look like for a homework file, say, for example. And so this, I'm just going to title this as area of a cylinder. So in a cylinder, what do we have? We have the things we're going to need to know in a cylinder is it's governed by a height variable, and if I can spell right, height variable and a radius. The cylinder has a 2 circles on the top and bottom faces, and on the circumference side, if you were to slice it and open it up, it becomes a square. So really the surface area of a cylinder is 2 pi r squared. Pi r squared for the top, pi r squared for the bottom, plus 2 pi times r times h, right? So r times h, there you go. So this is effectively your equation for a cylinder. And so in MATLAB, if we wanted to go ahead and calculate an area for a cylinder, we would have to first create and define our variables of our system. So the first thing we would say is, well, r is going to equal to, let's give an example of a radius of 5. And here we're going to want to specify the units. Let's make this a in inches, and this is going to be the radius. So we're just defining our variables and just explaining what it's going to be. And I'm going to go back and suppress that plot out, so we're just defining the variable r. Then we can go back and say h, which is our height, will be 10. So this is going to be in inches again, and it's going to be the height. Good. And so all we need now is a function for our surface area. Now, if you remember, we don't have to find pi. Pi is a rational number. It doesn't have, if I go back down here again, it's important to note if I say sine of pi, we're not going to get 0 because it's not a perfect pi representation. And actually, you can go and compare this answer to the answer you get in Excel and see which one has a higher position, which one's closer to 0. Will give you a sense of which one has a greater precision than the other one. I'll leave that for you to look at, but that's an important consideration in all of these, is to remember that pi is not a perfect value. And so then all we have to do is type in our equation. Surface area is equal to 2 times pi times r squared plus 2 times pi times r times h. Now these are all, since this is all scalars, we're just using the time symbol as appropriate. We're doing all of this straightforward, and that is all we have. And here we can specify and comment out and say that this is going to be in square inches, inches, and it's the surface area. All right, so all we need to do in this example, we'll save our file to run it, click Run, and then down below you'll see we get surface area is equal to some value, 471.24. It doesn't output the inches, square inches. We have to know what that is. Excel or MATLAB won't tell us that, but it will give us this idea of how to do, or what the answer is. And that's it. This is exactly how you would set up a homework problem in Excel for your homeworks. To break this down a little bit more, what we would actually do if this was your first problem, we would define it as a new section. Oops, and I should probably define it where we're defining above. So here, I would define it as a new section. Let's give it a space. Define it as a new section, and then say problem 1. And then we can do all of this here. And I will close this live scripting thing because that's something we don't need to worry about at this point. And here you go. And this is all, and that is exactly how you'd set up your homework. And if you're going to the next problem, we would just do another section and you begin. So remember, double percent signs means a new section. Your problem statement, you can define all the things you're going to do in there, and you'll get your answer. Now, of course, this is a rather rudimentary system. Effectively, we could have done this in a calculator, and this is just acting as a glorified calculator at this point. But clearly, MATLAB does much more. And really where the power comes into play is just how many calculations you can do at once when you have much larger variable sets that you're having using different array sizes and vector sizes. So in the next video, I will begin to talk about that. So thank you.